Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We are here to do what we always do. Take that massive stack of articles, reports, and legal briefs and find the signal in the noise.
We read it so you don't have to.
Exactly. And we try to have a little fun along the way. You are listening to CLAT Drive.
It's good to be back. And today, honestly, looking at the sources, it feels like we're looking at a map of the world, and specifically India, that's being redrawn in real time.
It is Tuesday, January 27, 2026. And you're right, the scope today is massive.
It really is.
We have a historic economic handshake between India and Europe that has been nearly 20 years in the making. We have a fierce, visceral debate over who gets to call themselves a voter in Assam. And we have a fundamental shift in how the government plans to count us in 2027.
It really is a mix of the macro and the micro, isn't it? On one hand, you have this mother of all deals, that's macro-level integration with Europe.
Right.
And on the other, you have micro-level identity politics checking voter lists name by name and redefining what discrimination looks like on a college campus.
It's almost a contradiction. We're tearing down walls for trade, but it feels like we're putting up walls for people.
That is the central tension of 2026, I think. Borders are becoming porous for capital and goods.
But so much harder for human beings.
Exactly.
Let's start with the porous part, the headline that is absolutely dominating the business pages today. The India-European Union Free Trade Agreement, or FTA.
Finally.
You say finally. This has been in the works since I was in high school.
Pretty much. Negotiations started way back in 2007. They paused, they stalled, they hiccuped.
And they only really resumed seriously in 2022. But as of yesterday, it's a done deal.
It's done.
And the rhetoric, I mean, it is sky high. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen didn't hold back.
Not at all. She called it the mother of all deals. And a win-win.
I always get skeptical when I hear politicians say win-win. You know, usually someone is losing something.
That's a healthy skepticism to have. But in this case, the win they're talking about isn't just money, it's geopolitical. Von der Leyen explicitly said this is about reducing strategic dependency.
Strategic dependency. That sounds like diplomatic code. What are they actually afraid of?
Well, they're hinting at two things. China, obviously, but also the uncertainty around the U.S. tariff regime.
Ah, so this is an insurance policy.
Exactly. The world is getting fractious, to use their word. Global trade is turbulent. By locking arms, India and Europe, who together are a third of all global trade, are trying to create a buffer zone.
A stable island in a chaotic sea.
That's the idea. Prime Minister Modi spoke about this too, emphasizing stability during global turmoil.
Okay, that's a 30,000-foot view. Let's bring it down to the ground. Mother of all deals. That implies some big numbers. What does this actually look like for the Indian economy?
The scale is impressive. The EU is dropping tariffs, basically import taxes on 99.5% of Indian exports to the bloc.
99.5%. That's practically everything.
It is. And crucially, it covers the sectors where India really needs to grow. Labor-intensive sectors.
Like textiles, leather.
Textiles, leather, footwear, gems, and jewelry. These are industries that employ millions of people. If they can sell to Europe cheaper, that is a massive boost for Indian manufacturing.
Okay, so Indian shoes get cheaper in Paris. What about for us? What's India giving up?
India is offering concessions on 97.5% of imports from the EU.
So what does that mean for the average person?
Well, for the aspirational consumer, you're looking at European wines and luxury cars becoming significantly less expensive.
I'm sure there are plenty of listeners who won't complain about cheaper German cars or French wine.
Not at all. But trade deals are never just about what you include, right? The real story is usually in what gets left out.
Precisely. That's the aha moment for understanding trade diplomacy, isn't it? It's not just about opening up. It's about what you protect.
Yes. Both sides kept their holy cows, sometimes literally off the table.
What did India protect?
Agriculture and dairy. That was a non-negotiable. I mean, the dairy sector in India is massive, mostly small cooperatives. Opening that up to European corporate dairy would have been, well, political suicide.
So that's state protected. What about the EU? What are they afraid of?
Their shopping list of exclusions is very specific. Beef, sugar, rice, chicken, honey, and bananas.
Beef and bananas.
It sounds like a grocery list, but those are the third rails of European politics. Their farmers are incredibly powerful lobbyists.
They were never going to let cheap Indian sugar or chicken flood their market.
Never.
So the mother of all deals has a few caveats. Now, obviously, not everyone is popping champagne over this. We're seeing some strong opposition back home.
Yes, the CPIM, the Communist Party of India, Marxist, has come out swinging.
And their language is very strong.
They issued a statement calling this a wholesale surrender of India's economic interests.
Surrender is a heavy word. What's their specific gripe?
They're looking at that 90+% figure of tariff reductions, and they're seeing a threat. They argued that by slashing duties on EU imports, we're going to decimate domestic industries.
Which ones?
They specifically mentioned the automobile and manufacturing sectors. Their fear is for the small producers, the MSMEs, who might not be able to compete with high-tech European manufacturing.
So we have the government saying investment and stability,
Yeah.
and the opposition saying deindustrialization and job losses.
That's the classic trade debate, efficiency versus protection.
So what's the timeline on this? When can we expect to see these changes actually happen?
It's not immediate. The text needs to be scrubbed legally, translated into all the EU languages. That takes time.
And then ratified.
And ratified by the European Parliament. But Union Minister Piyush Goyal is optimistic. He wants to celebrate the entry into force within the calendar year 2026.
So 2026 could be a landmark year for our external borders. But now I want to pivot. We're moving from international trade lines to internal boundaries, specifically to Assam. This is a much heavier topic.
It is. We're talking about the Special Intensive Revision, or SIRAR, of the electoral rolls. And the rhetoric coming out of the Assam state government is, well, blunt doesn't even cover it. It is extremely polarized. We have Assam's Chief Minister, Himanta Biswa Sarma, on record yesterday saying that 4 to 5 lakh Mia voters will be deleted.
Okay, for those listening who might know the term but not the context, how is Mia being used here?
Mia is a term that refers to Bengali-speaking Muslims in Assam. In the current political discourse, it carries a heavy implication.
That these people are of Bangladeshi origin.
And by extension, potentially not citizens, yes.
The CM didn't mince words about his intent. He said his job is to make these people suffer.
He did. He was very explicit. He said, and I'm quoting here, "Vote chori means we're trying to steal some Mia votes. They should ideally not be allowed to vote in Assam, but in Bangladesh."
Vote chori usually implies election fraud. But here, he's reframing the removal of voters as a form of justice.
It's a complete inversion of the term.
Yeah.
And naturally, the opposition is furious.
Of course. Akhilesh Yadav of the Samajwadi Party called this a National Register of Citizens, NRC, in disguise.
A disguised NRC, yeah. That's a loaded comparison. The NRC process was incredibly traumatic for millions of people.
Exactly. His argument is that people are being forced to prove their citizenship all over again.
And Congress leaders are calling it unconstitutional. But this isn't just a political shouting match. It has reached the Supreme Court.
And this is where I want to slow down and unpack the legal argument. The Election Commission, the EC, had to explain itself to the court. What's their defense?
This is where the nuance is critical. The Election Commission told the Supreme Court that a place on the electoral roll is a qualified right.
A qualified right? What does that mean in plain English?
It means it's not absolute. You aren't born with an automatic right to be on that specific list.
You have to qualify.
You have to qualify. And to be a voter, the pre-qualification is that you must be a citizen.
So their logic is, we aren't taking away your rights, we're just verifying if you have the qualification to exercise them.
That's it. The EC's lawyer argued that this special intensive revision is a process of verification, not a tribunal for determining citizenship.
That's a fine line.
They are splitting hairs, legally speaking. They admitted that the exercise helps weed out ineligible voters, but they frame it as administrative hygiene.
Administrative hygiene.
Yes. They even claim that in previous instances, this kind of door-to-door survey actually increased voter turnout by removing dead or duplicate entries.
So the EC says we are cleaning up the list, and the CM says we are targeting a specific community. That is a massive gap in narrative.
And that tension between the stated administrative process and the stated political intent is exactly what the court has to navigate.
Speaking of navigating identity and the courts, this isn't the only controversy brewing around definitions, is it?
Not at all. We have a new situation with the University Grants Commission, the UGC, and how they define discrimination.
Right, the UGC Regulations 2026. A petition has been filed in the Supreme Court.
Yes, challenging the very definition of caste-based discrimination in these new rules.
The new regulations define discrimination only as acts committed against members of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and other backward classes, OBCs.
Correct. And the petitioner is asking, what about everyone else?
So if you're from a general or upper caste and you face caste-based hostility, You can't claim discrimination under these rules.
That is the argument. The petitioner says this creates a hierarchy of victimhood.
A hierarchy of victimhood.
Yeah. They argue that the regulations institutionalize exclusion by assuming that caste-based hostility can only flow in one direction from upper to lower, and there are students protesting this in UP.
It raises a fascinating constitutional question, doesn't it? Can you limit the definition of discrimination to historically marginalized groups? Or does the law need to be, well, caste blind to be valid?
It links back to the Assam issue perfectly. In both cases, voting and university regulations, we are seeing the state try to strictly define categories of people.
Who is a voter? Who is a victim?
Exactly. These aren't just philosophical questions. They determine who gets access to power and protection.
And if we're talking about the state defining and counting people, we have to talk about the census. We missed the last one because of the pandemic.
Right, 2021 was skipped.
But Census 2027 is gearing up. And I was surprised to see how they're planning to do it.
It's a historic shift. For the first time, the technical staff assisting the census officials will be outsourced private personnel.
Outsourced, so we're handing over the great Indian headcount to private contractors.
Partially, yes. The Registrar General and Census Commissioner issued a letter stating that private technical staff will assist officials.
And the goal is digitization.
The goal is digitized data from the field itself. They want to modernize it, make it faster, more digital.
Modernization is great, but there's a catch for the people doing the work.
A big catch. The letter is very explicit. These are short-term contracts, maximum 18 months, and they have absolutely no claim to regular government service.
No tenure, no benefits.
None. So we're seeing the gig economy model applied to one of the most fundamental sovereign functions, the census.
The Uberization of the census.
That's a great way to put it.
Does that worry you?
It raises serious questions about accountability. When you have a permanent government employee, they have a stake in the system. They're sworn to secrecy. They have a pension to lose.
But a temp on an 18-month contract?
Handling sensitive citizen data, the incentives are different.
It feels like another layer of that state stepping back theme we're seeing. From counting people to, well, feeding them. Let's move to a story that's a bit lighter but still touches on this.
The Vande Bharat Express.
The Howrah-Guwahati Vande Bharat Sleeper Express, to be precise.
A high-speed connection between West Bengal and Assam.
It was flagged off recently, but the passengers had a major complaint on day one.
No non-veg food.
Which, if you know the region, is a significant oversight. Fish and meat are absolute staples of the Bengali diet.
You cannot cross Bengal without fish. It's just not done.
Exactly. And it didn't take long for it to turn political. The Trinamool Congress immediately accused the BJP of trying to impose dietary restrictions disregarding Bengali culture.
It shows how food is never just food in India, it's politics.
But the resolution was swift.
Very. The railway minister, Ashwini Vaishnaw, stepped in and assured that non-veg options would be added within days.
It's a small detail, but it's a perfect example of how central infrastructure policy has to adapt to local culture.
Central policy meets local palate. The palate usually wins.
All right, let's move to our quick hits segment. We have a few stories that deserve attention.
First, a health update on the Nipah virus scare in West Bengal. The news is good.
Oh, relief.
According to the National Center for Disease Control, there have only been 2 confirmed cases since December 2025.
And the contact tracing.
They traced 196 contacts and all have tested negative. It seems to be contained.
That is a massive relief. Okay, now, moving international. A lawsuit against the U.S. government? This sounds like a movie plot.
It's about a missile strike on a boat. U.S. authorities claimed it was carrying drugs and called the people on board narco-terrorists.
Narco-terrorists, a label that usually shuts down questions.
Right. But the families of 2 Trinidadians killed in that strike are now suing. They say these men were fishermen, not terrorists.
Challenging the whole narrative.
And the impunity. It's a classic case of shoot first, ask questions later, and now the families are forcing those questions to be answered in court.
Speaking of long fights for justice, we have a poignant story from the Supreme Court here in India. An acid attack survivor.
This one is heartbreaking. She was attacked in her 20s. She's now 42.
And she fought for 16 years and lost the case.
Lost it in the lower courts due to lack of evidence. She told the bench, "I lost the best years of my life fighting the case."
Just devastating.
It is. But the Chief Justice, Surya Kant, intervened. He assured her of legal aid. And significantly, he asked the center to treat acid attacks with the same gravity as dowry deaths.
That's a major shift in legal thinking.
It is. He questioned why the onus shouldn't shift to the accused. Hopefully this creates a precedent.
Let's end this segment on a high note. Sports.
Yes, the U19 World Cup. We have a new name to watch. Vihan Malhotra.
What did he do?
He smashed a century for India against Zimbabwe.
And the result?
India won by a massive 204 runs, a dominant performance.
Always good to see the next generation stepping up. So if we look back at today's deep dive, the EU trade deal, the Assam voting controversy, the census changes, what's the thread that ties this all together for you?
It comes back to what I said at the start. It's about defining who is in and who is out.
How so?
The FTA defines who is in our economic circle. Europe is in, tariffs are out. The Assam situation is literally about defining who is in the voter list and who is an outsider.
The UGC rules define who is in the victim category.
And the census is about who counts us and how we are counted. 2026 is shaping up to be a year where these definitions, citizen, voter, trading partner, are being rewritten.
That is a powerful way to look at it.
Yeah.
We're redrawing the circle of belonging. And that leaves us with a question for you, the listener.
It does.
We are moving toward a world where a private contractor on a short-term gig might be the one knocking on your door to record your existence for the census. So when we outsource the counting of our population to private entities, does it change the fundamental relationship between the citizen and the state? Is the state stepping back, or is it just changing its clothes?
That is something worth thinking about.
Thank you for listening to CLAT Tribe. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.